everyone, and welcome to the Digital Declutter Challenge, or a preview of it. The whole challenge is inside of Planner Pixies, so it's that time of year. I think it's nice to like clean things up and get rid of them. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Now, if you're in Planner Pixies, you already have access to the whole challenge. You have access to the slides. I really didn't update anything from last year. It's just one of those things where if you haven't done it in a while, or maybe you didn't do it the first time it came out, it's always a good idea to revisit it and do it again. I know just for me, like when I was making this, I was like, oh, there's so many things I need to clean up. And since then, it was a good idea to clean things up again some more. So we'll talk about what a digital declutter is. Do you really need one? Because most of the time when we think of decluttering, we're like, all the physical stuff, I need to like wipe that away and get rid of it. In fact, I have this coat declutter right now, clogging up the background. So let's go ahead. I think we're just going to do 1 and 3. Those are the ones that I have the slides for. Chrome, social media, it's a little harder to show that on the screen. So those are recorded. So is day 4, apps and software. And day 5, what to do with all of your courses and all of your digital assets. So as graphic designers, or designers of any kind, we all have tons of assets. And I know that I have been using Canva more. Now, prior to that, I was using Adobe, well, pretty much only Adobe Photoshop or InDesign or something else, or Adobe Express. And that's set up very differently. That's very organized. It's very logical. You keep all of your files in a file folder system. Or inside of Adobe Cloud. Now, the way that Canva keeps all the files, I just call it a graveyard of garbage. Like, that's probably my one biggest pet peeve with Canva. Well, I have a lot of pet peeves with Canva, but the biggest one is just like every time you add something to that upload folder, it's just like, it just adds to the clutter. It's kind of like probably your downloads folder. It's just filled with tons and tons of junk, and it just never ends, right? So I kind of feel like that with Canva. So I don't have a solution for that, mostly because I don't use it a lot. I do know that it's frustrating, so maybe when I finally get around to doing Canva 101, we'll talk about that, because I think that's really just the biggest challenge to using Canva, especially for me. I use it for a few different clients, and I use it for a few different projects that I have going on, as well as all of the templates that we have. So it's just like really a graveyard of just a lot of graphics. So oh, your Kindle. So the Kindle is the only thing that's out of scope. And here's why. Kindle is just like Canva. As soon as you add things to it, it just becomes a graveyard of junk. Now, the problem with Kindle is that there is no organization method in there. So I'm sure most of you are like, oh, I would really love to organize things by mysteries or romance or books I loved or books I hated or 5-star, 4-star, whatever. It doesn't allow you to do that on your Kindle device or within the app. So just forget about it and just use Goodreads. Like, that's what I use. There's some other StoryGraph. There's a bunch of other software or platforms out there that will let you organize the books that you're reading. And then when you want to go reread them or revisit them or check out your Kindle, then you can go ahead and just use the search function for the title. So that would be my advice for Kindle, because Amazon is #1 for ebooks, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. And obviously when you're #1, you don't have to try very hard. So I don't think they're ever going to change that. So here we're going to do a lot of things. We're going to go to inventorying all your devices, because a lot of times maybe you don't need them, right? A lot of times people have just multiple tablets laying around, iPads. I know when Molly was here, we were talking, she just has a ton of devices because she has so many children, and they all have different devices, and some of them don't even work, and they're just hanging out around her house everywhere. So anyways, we'll talk about speed. I think that makes a huge difference, because sometimes I think you just need one machine to like rule them all. And then what else do we have? We're going to talk about file folder management, which we already kind of talked about a little bit yesterday. But if you haven't heard of Amazon S3, I will touch on that a little bit. Your backup system. What is digital decluttering? So digital decluttering, and I should see who's here. Hey, Vertel. Hi, Shelly. Hey, Tasha. Hi, Karen. It's anything that's not physical. So software, it's your apps, it's your We talked about this yesterday, your photos, social media, your browsers. How many bookmarks do you have that you don't even know? Or, sometimes too, Chrome is kind of sneaky. At the top right, if you have different profiles, so like I have my profile for my personal, then I have my Pretty Fabulous, then I have my Lisa Seifert for reading, then my old Lisa Latte, my Lisa London for, right? And so sometimes when you open up Gmail, it will ask you, hey, do you want to change your Chrome profile? And sometimes, like, I'm just so busy clicking yes to everything, I say yes, and I'm like, oh no, my Google Chrome at the top right now says a totally different name, and then I'm like, oh, whatever, and I just start working, and then I start saving stuff in the bookmarks, and the bookmarks are not cross-pollinating with each other. They're totally separate, and I have lost bookmarks where I need something, and the whole export and import of bookmarks into a new profile isn't as great as it sounds. In fact, it's kind of awful. So I would always advocate using something else for your bookmarks, like what did I use? I used to use OneTab. I still use OneTab for daily stuff, but I switched over to something, which I can't remember the name of. Maybe it's in our slides. All right, let's keep going. So do you really need it? Yes. One, because it's going to cost you money to back stuff up. And honestly, until I really started organizing myself, like in the beginning, I didn't really think of myself as a business, right? So I was used to corporate America, and, you were forced to do file folder archiving and hierarchy based on what the rest of your department wanted. I always worked in large corporations. So I was like, whatever, I finally don't have to listen to all these rules on what goes into which folder. And I didn't. And so what ended up happening is I would need just something simple like my own logo. I would need my own logo, and I couldn't find it because I had just saved it to downloads, or I'd saved it to documents, or you know how when you do file export, it will export to wherever the last place is in Photoshop that you export. It could have been another folder. It could have been the desktop. It doesn't really matter. I was like, whatever, I'll remember it for the 2 seconds that I need it. And then 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever, I need it again. And I don't remember where it is because it's been 2 years of more data being pushed down on it. So yeah, you could just start over again. Like I used to do this all the time with cell phones back in my 20s and 30s with cell phone numbers. I would break up with a boyfriend, and then I'd be like, well, I don't want to talk to him anymore. So instead of doing the mature thing and just telling him not to call anymore, I'll just get a whole new phone number. That seemed like a great idea at the time. So you could do that too. You could just scrap everything and like just get a whole new persona. But otherwise, the more mature thing is just to do this. Oh, I guess this is when we did it the original time. I told you I didn't change the slides. It was March 7th. Chrome, social media. So these are all the things that are in the rest of the 5-day challenge. Pre-coursework, I always say, if you can, try to do inbox 0. I think that'll just make you feel so much better when we get started. So this is Inbox When Ready is an extension that you can download, and it will help you to check your email less often. So most of the time in your regular job, I know it always cracks me up when people are giving out advice that own their own company. They're like, don't schedule meetings until 3 p.m. and don't tell people they can't interrupt you. I'm like, okay, so you just want everyone to get fired. Like, you can't establish boundaries like that if you're an individual contributor and you're not that high up in the food chain. And for sure, that person's probably not going to get a raise or a bonus. But anyways, if you have your own business and you can, you should not be checking email that often. You should try to get some work done. So this will give you like a little synopsis to tell you how many times you checked it and how much time your eyeballs have been spent just looking at that inbox tab. We already talked about that. Goodreads privacy. Oh, Goodreads privacy settings. So I don't know what books you're reading. I'm not judging. However, your Aunt Betty might be offended if she sees you reading something, I don't even know, something of the X-rated variety. And maybe it's a nonfiction, right? Something to help with issues in the X-rated area, right? Maybe you don't want everyone to do that. So what Amazon purchased Goodreads. They're like the same company, right? So every time you buy something on Amazon, it auto-populates to Goodreads. Like, hey, Lisa Seifert just bought a book on how not to be suicidal. I don't know. I'm not suicidal, but like something like super private where you're like, oh my God, I was just checking this title out for research for a mystery novel, right? And then all of a sudden everyone's messaging you, oh my God, are you okay? Is everything all right? So what you want to do is you want to go into your settings in Goodreads, because I think this is really important, and disconnect Goodreads from your Amazon account so the two shall never meet. Now, if you are someone who's like, oh, Lisa, don't worry, I never read anything. I mean, sure, go ahead and leave them connected because it will auto-populate. Maybe you find that helpful, but I would go ahead and just disconnect them and then just add your books in manually. So this just kind of walks you through how to do that. Story graph, like I mentioned, it's actually pretty, just like it says. It's a graph, so it'll give you a graph at the end of the year, like how many books were fiction, how many books were nonfiction, how many were mysteries and thrillers. Now, story graph will make its own determination on where that book should be classified, so you can't really say where it's going to be classified, but still, if you like having those end of year stats, that could be fun. All right, so inventory all your devices. So I have right now 10 devices, which is still a lot considering it's just little old me. But I have, and you know what I forgot on here is my printer. I did buy a printer since like 3 years ago. I clearly forgot it. That's a device. So I have my MacBook. I have my 2 XDR screens that I'm looking at right now, which I know there were 6,000 each. It was a huge investment. However, right the year before that, and this is why I'm always a proponent of investing in technology if you have an online business, I was getting a ton of headaches, like all the time. And so I was changing my contact prescription. I was changing my eyeglass prescription. I was getting the anti-glare. I was like trying to angle the screen differently. Anyways, lucky, my cat jumped on my screen and tipped it over and cracked the whole thing. And it was one of those really nice, like 30, what did I have, like a 37 or 43 inch? It was one of those ultra wide. So it was super, I loved it. So after that broke and then I bought this new computer, I'm like, well, let me just try the XDRs. They look so pretty and they're so vibrant. And I always thought maybe I'll just return them if I don't like them. And the weirdest thing happened. I stopped getting headaches. And I don't know if it is the quality screen, and I did not put anything special on these screens or change anything. I don't know if it's the, I don't know. I don't know cathodes or whatever, the lights, but for sure, I stopped getting, sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. I stopped getting all headaches completely ever since then. So even though I do prefer the ultra wide like format of a physical screen device, I have stuck with these super expensive monitors because I never get headaches. So that to me is like a number one reason for investing, and the productivity, it has increased exponentially. So I bought these in, what was it, 2019 or 2020? So it's been like 3 or 4 years now. So still a great investment. I did upgrade from my Apple MacBook Air to a MacBook Pro. So my computer, when I moved, I don't know if I remember this, I had so many like issues with the electricity and the wiring in this building, and it kept shorting out the computer. And then because of my anxiety, I wasn't able to take the computer to Apple without having a friend help me. And so it's a lot to like, they wanted me to bring my monitors too, which was like crazy. So I had to bring my XDR monitors, which are heavy, and that big, huge cheese grater Mac, and pack it all in the car and drive it over to Apple. So because of that, I was like, you know what, I just need, the MacBook Air was not able to do anything because it was basically like a useless computer, because I'd gotten like the fully spec'd out one, but it couldn't do video editing and all this other stuff. I don't know. Other people are like, oh, it works fine for me. I'm like, that's great for you, but it does not work for me. So in Photoshop and InDesign, it just couldn't handle all of that like computing power. So I switched over and upgraded to the MacBook Pro. Which, and this is weird because I used to always tell people, save your Apple devices, because when you go to resell them on Amazon, or not Amazon, eBay, they're going to be so much more valuable than doing a trade-in. That is no longer the case. I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's because Apple has exponentially increased the rate at which they come out with updates. But this, so like literally 2 weeks after I had this computer and the 10-day return window had ended, they came out with a new MacBook Pro. And since they've come out with another new MacBook Pro. So I'm pretty sure my laptop is worthless to anyone but me, even though I paid like $5,800 for it. And in fact, even the cheese grater, I mean, I bought it in 2019. They've come out with a new one. If I could, I'm going to wait. I know they're coming out with the new Mac Studio, the smaller one. I'm going to just upgrade to that one because I think they're more powerful than that big, huge cheese grater. And also, it's so heavy to carry and it takes up so much room on my floor. So I'm definitely going to try to update to that. Anyways, these are all my other devices. I 100% use all of these things. So you just need to say, do I use these every day? Probably the only thing I don't use every day is the Kindle Oasis. I would say maybe I use that once a week, if that. So, but otherwise I use everything else. All right. I have a video. So on my studio, if you want to see my YouTube setup, so all of the stuff you see in this picture, I actually got rid of. So having all those stands in this tiny studio is a lot. So instead now I just have desk clamps. So my lights, my camera, everything is just connected with the clamp. So I don't have to worry about anything on the floor. Sound mixer. This is probably the only regret I have that I have posted on eBay. I'm trying to sell that. I thought I needed a sound mixer, you know, has that like little applause sound, the laugh track, you know, those things that you see radio DJs use. And well, one, I don't really have that kind of a channel where we're doing lifestyle comedian stuff. It's just kind of like whatever. So, and I never hooked it up. And so I definitely 100% can get rid of that. So yeah, live and learn. So physical device clutter. So all of these other things that you get, most people keep a lot of physical device things because they're like, what if? What if my keyboard dies and I need to get a new one? What if I need this cord? What if I need this box? What if I need this? So I would just say throw them away. So this is the first time ever I don't have a backup for my keyboard. I just have this one keyboard, and if it dies, it just dies, and I don't have one. So I'll have to run to the Apple store, which is only 4 miles away and only closed on Christmas. So is it really that much of a hardship to not have stuff? No. And is it better for me not to have the clutter? 100%. So I guess if you have a lot of space or you just love having clutter and just in case stuff, you can keep it. I am definitely not a fan of that. I would rather just throw it away. So I've thrown everything away. I used to own a calculator too, because there's not one on my computer and on my phone and on my tablet and there's not a calculator already built into, you know, the Google Home and the Alexa device that I already have. So, all of those things I have tossed in the garbage. So if you have any physical device stuff that you've decided you don't need, definitely just get rid of it. eBay, OfferUp, or I'm 100% in favor of just throwing stuff in the trash. A lot of it's outdated anyway. The time and trouble it would take to resell it, especially a mouse, just isn't worth it. Processing speed. So like I always say, you know, I do way more work now because I don't have headaches. And I think if you are waiting on the spinning beach ball of death or whatever the equivalent is on a PC, you're wasting a lot of time. Now, most people aren't doing, you know, design or memory intensive work. I have usually Adobe InDesign up. I have Adobe Photoshop up. I have the Chrome browsers up. I have, what else do I have up? I have Instant Messenger up. I have my text messaging up. I have Ecamm right now live up. So, you know, if you are not doing a lot of those things, that's okay. But I like to switching between doing one thing, checking, you know, referencing something on Chrome that I need to look up, and then at the same time doing my videos, or I might need to make graphics for putting into the videos or something like that. So for me, it's definitely totally worth it. Internet speed. So when I moved here, this was a huge help. So at the last place, I think it was so expensive. It was like $300 a month for internet so that I had like enough upload speed to like get going. Here at this place, and it says 14, that's like very rare. Usually it's like in the hundreds or like 9,000, or not 9,000, 1,000. But since I switched over to Google Fiber, Google Fiber is only like $45 a month, and it's like 1,000 times faster. So I'm not sure how important it is to you. Like, I don't know if you saw my stats. I went live 51 times this year. So I go live a lot. And every time I go live, and that's just for this channel, it has nothing to do with the other channel, right? And every time I go live, you need internet speed. Otherwise it lags, it looks weird. It's just a really low quality. So you can tell, like in our videos that I do with my friend Molly, I'm like perfectly in like focus, and she's like just a big fuzzy like 1960s TV, because she just doesn't have fast internet speed. So that's like one of the reasons I would say, if you're going to go live a lot, you might want to just do faster internet. Plus, just things that you download or programs you're using, everything is pretty much web-based now. And I just think it just saves your productivity and your time, if you can. I know not everyone lives everywhere. My cousin Linda lives in, like, I don't even know, like the middle of nowhere. She like barely has internet. Sometimes the phone doesn't work. Packages don't get to her. So I totally get it if you're kind of living off the grid. The average person will spend, I just really love this quote, like waiting for, like for me, especially because I think everyone knows I hate cooking. Like I think it is literally the biggest, hugest waste of time. I cannot stand it. Bless everyone who loves cooking and finds this to be a joy, like standing around waiting, like cooking stuff. But for me, I'm just like, oh my God, I have to waste so much time cooking. I don't want to waste any more time like waiting for something to download or a processor to process something. So anyways, this is just like total time in your life that you're doing things that maybe or maybe not you find valuable. But for sure, where you can, you want to decrease that. I think being on hold, maybe that's like less so now because people like use the phone less. So chat is possibly better. I don't know. Sometimes with chat, I'm waiting too. I would say mostly the chat people are waiting, because you know how you like start a chat, they take a while to respond, you start doing something else, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, the conversation will be like, hey, are you still there? I'm still here waiting for your response. Anyways, speed and memory, the more RAM you can get, always the better. Don't listen to anybody else. Just go for more RAM. Don't try to learn all the idiosyncrasies. You're never going to learn them. It's just always better with more memory. The M3 chip is now the fastest chip that Apple has. That's why I said I'm waiting until the new Mac, it's not the mini, it's the whatever, the Studio comes out with the new M3 chip. So I can get rid of, this is what I have. I have that big cheese grater, and I upgraded and paid for the wheels. So this is a crazy story. So my computer cost $15,000 at the time that I bought it back in 2020, which was not that long ago. I checked it. The resale value of that is $315. Not even kidding. I was like, did I have a typo? Like Apple, when you do that trade-in value, it looks at your serial number. And so the serial number and the specs, and I got 96 gigs of RAM, it is still only, and I have 4 terabytes of memory. This thing is only worth $300. So I just thought, wow, $300 for me to lug around this huge thing back and forth to the Apple store whenever I have an issue. So this way, next time, in case there ever is a tech issue, I can just lug a tiny box instead of like lifting this up, rolling it out to my car. It's like a whole ordeal. So for sure, I'm getting rid of the cheese grater as soon as like the new M3 chip comes out in the Studio, which they've done study. I don't know if you've been watching the YouTube videos, but they'll do side-by-side comparisons, and people will say like, the Studio is way better. I don't even know why anyone needs to buy this cheese grater anymore. So storage space. I do have 4 terabytes, but I wish I had more. Now, the reason I wish I had more is because I do have hard drives, and they are way less expensive, but they're so slow. And so it does slow down my productivity time when I am trying to pull a file from, like I said, 4 years ago that I need, maybe a graphic element or an arrow, something like tiny, like I know it's on the drive. It takes a long time to pull that. So Do I wish I had more memory? I definitely do. If you ever have the ability, if you have it in the budget, always try to get more storage space in your one device. Cloud backup options. So right now, I used to use iCloud. I don't anymore. And the reason is because, and I've explained this before, every time you have something in iCloud does this thing where I think when it hits, it's not automatic. Like, I think once it hits like close to a terabyte, it's like, okay, you have way too much data, lady. We're going to go ahead and we're going to store it for you 100% in the cloud and not put anything local on your device. I don't know why it does that. I have no idea how to change it. I've been on the phone with Apple support like millions of times. There's nothing they can do. So anytime I need something, even if it is, like I said, I need arrows a lot. Like I have all these cute little arrows I like. And the arrows are, let's say 12 kilobytes. That's like nothing. I will wait for 10 or 12 minutes for a 12 kilobyte file to download to my hard drive so I can use it because it's in iCloud. And it's in iCloud with a terabyte of data and it's trying to look through stuff and parse through things. I don't know how that's set up on the back end, but it was terrible. Like it took me, I don't even know, like an hour to make one graphic one time that had like 3 things from the cloud. So after that, I got rid of the cloud. Never had the iCloud again. And now I use Google Drive and hard drives as my only form of backup. I don't even bother with anything else. Now, video files, all of my video files, I actually store on YouTube. So it's a big issue once you start doing a lot of videos. Like I've been on YouTube since at least 6-7 years now. So all the videos you see out there on the YouTube channel, that's the only place they exist. They don't exist anywhere else. So if my YouTube channel were wiped out, I think all the videos, I think there's an older copy of some of the old videos, but otherwise they'd be gone. Mostly because it's free to store them on YouTube and it is so expensive to pay to just store video files. And honestly, it's been, what has it been, 6-7 years? I've never needed any of those files. Even the course files. So I know some people will put their course files into Vimeo. Vimeo was so expensive. It was like, I don't even know, hundreds of dollars a month. And like, as my courses grew and things got bigger, it just became more and more expensive. So I got rid of Vimeo. I just put everything on YouTube and I'm kind of like, you know what? If you're like crafty enough to go through and like try to steal the URL from the video, like I don't even care. So it's such a small percentage, it doesn't even matter. Okay, so if you are going to store stuff on YouTube like I do, there are 3 options in there. You can put a video up there privately, which means only you can see it, and people you share it with. So if I wanted to share a private video with you, you would already have to have a YouTube channel. You can't just be a YouTube person. I don't even know if you have a channel. I think you definitely need a YouTube account. I should take that back. I've actually never shared a private file with anyone, but I think that's the case. So you can't just like get a link and send an email to somebody. That's what I mean. They have to be like in the YouTube system. Unlisted is what all of the course videos are. They're on my YouTube channel. And if you don't have that weird URL, XY7-4, whatever the URL is, you can't watch it. And then public, obviously that's everything on your channel everyone can see. So if you want things that are only you, you would store them as private. So some of the old, what do I have on there that's private? Actually, I don't think I have anything on there that's private. But if you wanted to store something that was private, you could. All of my stuff is either unlisted or public. Okay. Disable all startup apps. So every time you start up your computer, this used to happen to me all the time until I did this. Everything, it would like take forever for the computer to start. And I just thought it was like a computer thing. It takes forever. It does not really take forever. It's because you have allowed the computer to take over. So if you go into your settings inside, and I don't know how this works for PC, or yeah, it's been like so many years. I haven't used PC in so long, but it has the same thing. So if you go into setup, go into your login items, like users and groups, and then login items, and you're going to see all of these applications that are like, hey, auto start, right? Like Spotify used to do this to all the, it would like drive me crazy. All you have to do is hit the negative button to make sure you delete everything in your login items. So inside my login items is nothing. So when my computer starts, I put in my password and it starts. there are no applications pre-loaded or Chrome doesn't auto start. It's waiting for me. So I'm in control of my computer. Updates, you might want to set an update for dinners and reminders. Your desktop. So there's a point in everybody's life where all of a sudden your desktop is just like cluttered with stuff. I don't put anything on the desktop. I just don't like having things there. I can't remember who this was. She had this really cute thing where it was like a desktop wallpaper or whatever, not wallpaper, screensaver. What am I trying to say? It's wallpaper. I don't know. It's your desktop image, right? That you put on there. And then she had buckets saying, read this, work on this, and then you could move your files around. Awful system. It was so terrible. So don't do that. One, the bubbles are never going to be big enough anyway. Two, once you move things into the bubble, then you don't know where they really belong in real life. Forget about this. Sure, maybe this worked back in, I don't even know, 1901 BC. Now just use what I do. Click up Llama Life, a to-do list. Just forget about this. Just leave your desktop clean. Background images. Also, sometimes too, just looking at those images and those pictures, like I was cleaning off my monitor today with some Windex, and I was like, there's a spot. It wasn't a spot. It was like I had an image on the back because there was a website up. So if you can, just eliminate all distractions, because just having that image on your background is distracting you, especially if you're a graphic designer. It could just be influencing you and the colors that you're using. So I would just say use one color, whatever color you like, and have that as your background. All right, so I said we're skipping day 2, and we're gonna do day 3, which is document management. Okay, so hard drive. So clean off your desktop, choose a plain background, delete your downloads folder. So sometimes when you run out of space, I know I do this all the time, I'm like, where is everything? My documents are so clean and I don't have stuff. But then I'll look at my downloads, and over time, especially like I'll download some of my own files just to someone will be like, I can't find, I don't even know, the self-confidence planner. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's in there. And like, I'll download the zip file. I'll like go in as a student, pretend student, download the file, and then I'll be like, it's totally there. And so now I've downloaded the zip file and I've unzipped it. So this like goes on and on and on. But so do that, empty your trash. It'll save you a lot of space. If you do not know how much space you have, if you are on your Apple, just follow this path, about this Mac, storage, manage, reduce files, and it will actually give you a suggestion like, hey, I think you could get rid of some of these files, like temp files or like, I don't know, downloads or something like that. Anyways, it does take a while for it to clean up. So grab a cookie, grab a cupcake, get some ice cream or something while you wait. All right, so external drives, make sure you buy one that is pre-formatted for a Mac. So don't get one for a PC. Otherwise, it's going to ask you to download this stupid software called NTFS. NTFS, just like I said, if you see that message when you plug in your device into your Mac, just unplug it, put it back in the packaging, and return it. They have sent you the wrong one. You need one that is already done for your Mac. Otherwise, I don't know how to describe this, but like basically every time it's NTFS, it has to decode or encode the file because it's not meant to be on a, PC drive instead of a Mac drive. I don't know. It's like a big issue. Just don't do it. Just stay away from it. I would do this too. And this is only if you're not going to have an auto backup, like some sort of cloud storage, like Google Drive or SugarSync or something like that. So you could go ahead and do a manual backup to your hard drive every week. I was doing this for a while. I think I switched over to Google Drive. That's not true. I still do, because I'm paranoid that I'm going to lose stuff. I still do a manual backup to my external drive, like at least once a month, if not every week. There's software that does automatically back stuff up to your external drive. I've actually never tried it just because I'm a control freak and I want to like copy it, because I feel like with the cloud storage, I'm already letting it go on autopilot. So in case that messes up, I don't want something else also on autopilot as well. Google Drive is my archival system. So as you'll see in the folder, I just kind of keep stuff in Google Drive. I never worry about losing things from Google Drive. I mean, I could. I've already explained the nightmare. That was iCloud. items that aren't already backed up somewhere else. So if you have important documents, any important documents, make sure they're backed up somewhere. So, purchase history, if you have receipts, I have a folder inside of Gmail that I just call business receipts. I don't know what's in there. Every time I have a receipt that comes up through my inbox, I just file it away automatically, and then that way I don't have to think about it. So I don't actually download it and store it somewhere else. I just know my email has everything. Now, if my email does not have everything and say I bought it off Amazon, I just assume it's in Amazon and it's okay there. So it's all right if your system is like multi-platform, as long as you you yourself know where everything is in case you need to file it. We already went through this. I file everything by year. And then we have days 4 and days 5. Oh, and I would also suggest doing the paperless challenge. So I kind of went back and forth. I did the paperless, and then I was like, oh, you know what? I miss being having paper, and I bought a bunch of notebooks and pens, and I started writing stuff. And then I switched again. I'm like, no, you know what? I really want to be paperless again. So I don't know what I'm doing. But go ahead and try both out. You might just find you like one better or worse than the other. I still love, this is my, what is this? This is my Samsung tablet. And so there's a crack. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. Oh, there's a crack on it. So the cat, there's like carpeting everywhere in this apartment. There's like one tiny area in the kitchen where there is no carpeting. There's like this cement thing. And the cat, and it was my fault too. I was watching TV and I should make cooking dinner not so painful. And I turned around for a minute and the cat just pushed the tablet down. It was really close to the edge. So that's why I'm like, it's my fault, right? I have a cat. And it cracked the screen. So, I don't know what my point is. Anyways, my point was that if you have a cat, just make sure that your screens are safe from kitty cat destruction. All right, so I think that's a wrap on everything. Oh, this is the Go Paperless Challenge. In case you were wondering what's in there, the first day we went over books, magazines, which I talked about yesterday as well, scan and save methods. We also went over paper storage, like what do you do with your paper now that you've decided to go paperless, filing cabinets, shelving. We went over note-taking apps and ongoing maintenance in order to stay paper-free. So that's a wrap on everything for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I did a lot of talking, which clearly I like talking all the time. Tasha, Lisa, thank you much for this tip on Spotify. Yeah, they're just evil, right? Karen, so helpful with the external hard drive. All right, everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderfully device uncluttered day, and I will see everybody later. And if you are Karen, I will talk to you in a few minutes. I'm gonna grab a drink and I will be right there. All right, bye everyone.